What's going on, guys? Alright, so I'm going to show you guys something I usually don't put on the channel, primarily because I don't consider myself a collector of this. Of course, this being Mattel's Masterverse line. I do, however, think that the Masterverse line is probably the best line of action figures that Mattel has put out in a really long time. I was not a fan of their DC Multiverse stuff, but the problem is I just don't care about He-Man. So I have some of these figures that I've picked up because, you know, I thought they were cool, and usually they're on clearance. In fact, this one was. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but I just don't care about He-Man. Even though I'm like the perfect age for He-Man, like when the original 80s cartoon came out, I was like 7 years old, and I should have been all into it, yet I wasn't. I've just never cared about He-Man. So I don't consider myself a collector of these because I only have a handful of figures. And this one, honestly, I picked up for a different purpose other than I just thought it would look cool on the shelf. So that'll be a separate video when I go into that. But we got it here, of course. This is He-Man from their, new Eternia line that they've put out here. And, we've got the picture on the back. Picture looks great. We got the other figures there in the line. But let's go ahead and crack this guy open, and we'll see what we've got inside. Alright, so we have him out of the package. Let's look at accessories here real quick. First, we do get a couple of extra hands there, an open hand and a gripping hand. We get a little dagger here. We, of course, also get a couple of bigger weapons here. We've got an axe, and we've got his power sword. And then, of course, we've got a spare head there, just a spare unhelmeted He-Man head. Alright, so as far as the figure itself goes, it's a little cartoony looking, but, the whole line is. And I will say it's a lot less cartoony looking, obviously, than the old vintage line or the new Origins line or anything like that. So you've got some basic details there, stuff on the boots. The fur looks cartoony, but it's there. You've got this rubber piece or this plastic piece here, although on mine it does stick out like He-Man's trying to show off his goodies. But a little heat and press that down, it should be fine. No details there on the belt, it's just gold. Same thing with the wrist and the shoulder pads. This piece right here actually does come off if you want to take that off. So you got some decent detailing there. I think this is the only paint on the figure. I don't think there's really any other paint on the figure outside of maybe the face there and the jewels there on the helmet. The helmet itself is pretty basic. Not a lot of details in that, but again, we're talking about something, cartoonish, so I'm okay with it, and I do like this line, but basic stuff there. But the sculpt is good, the paint is good where it has paint. As far as articulation goes, basic stuff, basic ankles, you've got thigh cuts, bicep cuts, you got double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, standard wrists. You've got, the diaphragm joint there at the top. You've got swivel there at the waist. Standard shoulders. The head is on a ball joint. And you get a little bit of movement there. Not a whole lot, just because, the back of his hair comes down, blocks some movement there. And then, of course, the shoulder pads block a little movement as well. So, basic stuff, but I think it's a good solid figure for what it is. And especially, even you can pick these things up for like 15 bucks. So, it's not like you're getting a high-end figure or anything, but I think it is done well. I think the detail and sculpt and paint and everything is as good as you need it to be for a He-Man figure. So, let's go ahead and throw him up with some other figures and see how this guy stacks up. Alright, so here we have him lined up with some other 7-inch scale figures to give you an idea of what he would look like in amongst his own. Of course, at the back, we've got Scareglow from the Masterverse line. We've got Batman from McFarlane Toys, Three Jokers Batman. We also have Savage He-Man, also from Masterverse. Up front, we've got the Phantom from NECA. And over on the right, we've got Omni-Man from Diamond Select. And these are all 7-inch scale figures, and I think this works really well together, and he is fitting right in rather perfectly. Alright, so now let's talk about price here real quick, and this guy retails for 20 bucks, usually $19.99 most places, but I will say he's very easy to find for less than that. I actually picked this guy up for $11.79 on eBay with free shipping. Now that is particularly cheap. Average I usually see him going for is about 15 bucks, give or take. But let's just talk retail price here. 20 bucks. Is he worth 20 bucks? I say yeah, at least if you're a fan of the Masterverse line or a He-Man fan or whatever. I mean, it is a good figure. It's not the greatest sculpted and painted thing out there, but it's a good 7-inch scale figure. And again, it looks kind of like a cartoon, but that's okay for this line, in my opinion. I think it's got great articulation, especially for what it is. I think the sculpt work and paint is done well for what it is, and I certainly think it's worth 20 bucks. You know, it's not as nice as, let's say, a McFarlane or something else, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be based off of a cartoon, and I think if you're a fan, you don't mind that that's the style they went with for the design, and I think it looks good. Even as somebody who's not the biggest fan of He-Man, I still think it's a good figure, and yeah, even though you don't have to pay retail for this guy, I still think it would be worth retail just to add him to your collection. So look, I'm glad I have him, but again, I'll be honest, I'm going to be doing something else with him that again will be in a separate video. But either way, even though I have other plans for this guy, I still think it's a cool figure. And again, if you're a fan of He-Man, he's definitely something you should check out. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.